G'day everyone, welcome to today's podcast. My guest today is Mason Rack. And Mason has been gigging around for quite a few years now and has a new single out on the charts. But today we're going to talk about where Mason started and how he got to where he is today. And then we'll talk about all of the little bumps and successes along the road. So welcome along, Mason.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
What was the first time you ever performed? Can you remember that?
Yeah, it would have been with my dad. It would have been 6 years old.
Wow.
On bongos.
Oh.
Yeah, it was at a family restaurant that he was doing residency at. So.
In Coolangatta?
No, I was at Palm Beach, 8th Avenue.
Oh.
Yeah. And he did that for the next 7 years or 7.5 years. And I did bongos and then conga drums and all the hand instruments, and then went to drum kit. And then that was the end of that.
So how old were you when you were on the drum kit?
I think I took up the drum kit probably around 9. Maybe 8.5 or 9. My brother got old enough to start going out and chasing girls, so he left, and then I progressed the drum kit. And
Was he playing drums before you?
yeah.
Ah, it was taking over the family business.
Yes.
Because your dad was quite successful and popular.
Yeah, he was a drummer first up. He did a lot of jazz and big band stuff, and then he went to double bass, and he started playing melody lines on double bass, which was really out there at that time. He did a lot of jazz trios, and then he went to acoustic guitar and country, and in the end he was doing all the crooning stuff, all the Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. and all that stuff, and then still doing jazz and country stuff and other outfits as well.
You're 9 and now you're on the drum kit.
Yeah.
Where did things progress to from there?
Nothing really happened after that restaurant stopped. I got to say that at that restaurant, my dad had figured out a complete one-man show, variety show.
Okay.
And 90% of it was aimed at the kids because it's a family restaurant. So he would do name this tune, he would do dance competition, he'd have them all playing hand instruments as well. He would do tug of war, girls against the boys leave their socks on. He would do balloon blowing up competition until the balloon would burst, which was interesting for a 4-year-old. I mean, if you're trying to do it, he would do push-up competition, and then he would have a break and come back and do a puppet show with Ernie and Bert and Cookie Monster. And one time I was told he was on mushrooms and had made this amazing Big Bad Wolf puppet. So he would then announce that the Big Bad Wolf puppet was coming out and scare the bejeebus out of these kids. By about 9 o'clock at night or 9:30, they'd all be falling asleep back at the table, on the table, under the table, on 3 chairs lined up,
Yep.
which you could do back in those days. And then he would break out the waltzes or the love songs, and the mums and dads would come on the floor and have a dance. And it proved to be a massive winner because the place was booked out
All the time.
all the time, and the food wasn't the thing that it was getting booked out for. Mm-hmm. It was because families would come there with their kids, and their kids would be completely entertained the entire night, and the mums and dads would have the night off. And the mums and dads could still see their kids.
Yeah.
It wasn't like,
And the kids would probably love it and would be quite willing participants.
oh, it was awesome. You could win a pink lemonade with a swizzle stick and an umbrella. You know, the monkeys and and a maraschino cherry. Big stuff back in those days.
Oh, man. So the restaurant finished up and you're not playing drums anymore.
No.
So what do you do?
Well, I was just surfing a lot around Greenmount, and a few of the guys that there were playing guitar, And my middle brother that was on drums, he was playing some guitar as well. So I ended up picking that up very, very slowly, very slowly. I didn't write my first song until I was 16, and I knew a few chords. And the first song I wrote was to try and win a girl back. She'd gone with my friend, and it wasn't my best friend, but as soon as she went with him, it was my best friend, you know. But and I wanted to win her back.
Okay.
And so I wrote the song. It didn't work, but I was left with the song, which was good.
Yeah. Do you remember the first time you performed in front of an audience playing guitar and singing?
Yeah, I did an open mic afternoon at the Patch Beer Garden, and I'd been playing in the lounge room and mostly playing half a song.
Okay.
I had about 3 or 4 different songs, and I'd played them halfway through, and I thought, yeah, I've got that. And I went to do the open mic night, or the jam night in the afternoon there, and it was horrible. It was, I don't think I even got through half the song. And everything I thought I would remember, I forgot. And when I think back now, it feels like if anything went wrong, it went wrong that day. It didn't push me off, it pushed me to go, okay, I really got to learn these songs properly, and I really got to, you know.
So it motivated you to get better.
It hurt so much, it worked, it motivated me. Yeah.
Yeah, the things that don't kill you make you grow stronger.
Yeah, I hope so, yeah.
Yeah, the Patch was I remember, it wasn't my first gig playing at the Patch, but I did quite a few gigs in that Patch Beer Garden, in the back of the Queensland Hotel. Because you lived close by there too.
I was...
like 2 doors away.
Yeah, I was probably about 80 metres away, maybe less.
Nice and close for surfing. It's a great part of the world to live in.
It was incredible. The place that we lived at ended up getting nicknamed the Cave, and it was the kind of place that people would walk past there with their kids, and they would say to their kids, "Don't ever go in there." And that's where I was growing up.
Just a quick interruption to say thank you for watching the podcast. Please hit the subscribe button. It's very early days for us, and we're trying to grow things, and you can help. Please share, hit the subscribe button. It makes a massive difference. Thank you very much. You eventually get out and perform quite a bit. Is it mainly solo at first? Do you actually manage to put a band together?
I went into heavy rock and had a band, and it never really translated to the audience.
Okay.
We were always a little bit too far left of centre, and probably quite unpolished, and just rough around the edges.
I do remember seeing you play in the middle of a cane field off the back of a truck once.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting experience.
I remember that one. I've been so frightened to talk to you about that.
Oh, look.
I hardly remember anything.
Yeah, well, I mean, you were probably heavily under the influence of something at the time.
Yeah. I'm nearly 25 years clean and sober now.
Yeah.
But that gig I was not anywhere near clean and sober. And
What
happened?
Well, I guess it's a fair thing to talk about. What led you down that path, and what was the thing that broke the cycle and got you out of it?
I think I was probably a product of my surroundings. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of the people I was hanging around and growing up in the surfing fraternity, it was like the crazier they could be, you know, on the night outs or whatever, the more that people loved them. Mm. So I guess I thought, oh, that's what I should do. I should be able to do that.
It was a little bit misplaced role model.
Yeah, and you know, my family were, my brothers and my dad loved smoking pot. Mm-hmm. I couldn't wait to get my hands on that. And then, yeah, kind of just went from there. I mean, alcohol got bad, but the other drugs that came along with it, you know, that's what took me down quickly. And in the end, I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. Mm-hmm. And I was too scared to live and too scared to die. So I was completely in limbo. And
was it something that you managed to quit cold turkey?
I had to go to a detox, and then I went to a rehab. And then I learned information about what was happening to me.
Yeah.
And then I went to a 12-step program. Mm-hmm. And I still do that 12-step program now. And that's the best thing I've ever done in my life.
Wow. That's a great endorsement for the 12-step program then. It obviously really works.
It does. Prior to the 12-step program being founded, mm-hmm. a lot of the institutions at that time were filled with people wanting to stop drinking, and no one had an answer. Okay. None of the physicians, none of the psychiatrists, no one. They said, we'd love to help you, we don't know how. The closest thing to a cure was a frontal lobotomy.
Oh, wow.
And until the 12-step program came along and this was happening, they didn't have an answer for it.
Okay. You've gotten clean, and I guess that would have changed, to some degree, the music that you were into.
Oh, yeah. We were doing the heavy stuff. We were covering a band called Danzig.
Yep.
And I fell in love with, I had a friend, really great friend named Ralph Taylor. He came around and brought this DVD of Danzig. I think it was a videotape, actually. And I immediately just was hypnotised by what I saw, and I thought, I want to do that. So he ended up covering all these Danzig songs, the ones I could get away with, had the band, that was going good. And now I look back and realise that I was the anorexic version of Danzig. Like Danzig was quite solid, and I wasn't solid at all, but I had the wristbands on and I had the long hair and I was trying to move like him, and I had the... Anyway, we ended up doing a whole bunch of shows. Again, it really didn't translate to the audience so much. Some people liked it, other people just didn't really gather any momentum with it. And then a few things happened. We had one drummer pass away with meningitis within 36 hours. A couple of weeks later, a guitarist had a really horrible accident and was in a coma for, a month or something. Wow. Before he could come out and start getting operations. We had another bass player have another car crash, break all of his ribs and all of his fingers. So there was this, and there was more that happened. I ended up in prison and then rehab. And then, so all of these sort of things happened. And when I came to do another show, I rang the sound guy, and he said, Lee Taylor, he said, I'm not doing it. I said, what do you mean? He said, you guys are cursed. He said, you guys, the Danzig stuff's the evil stuff. You shouldn't be singing that stuff, and it's cursed. And it made me, at first I went, no, what are you talking about? And then when I thought about it and looked at the content and everything, I thought, maybe he's right.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was pre prison and pre-rehab, so.
What was the reason that you went to prison? Was it drug related?
Yeah. It was, I had accumulated a whole bunch of fines a whole lot of fines, and I wasn't paying any of them. I already been playing guitar and singing then. And I used to do a song that Blues Brothers did, Riot and Cell Block Number 9.
Yep.
I used to play that song in there, and they'd go and get guys and bring them back, and they'd say, "Play it again," and I'd be sure, no worries, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've had a change of heart about doing Danzig and the heavier stuff.
It's been 25 years or so.
Yep.
I've only just started to listen to some of that stuff again now.
Okay. And how does that make you feel listening to that again
I
now?
love it.
Okay.
Oh, I love it.
So the love that you had for it back then hasn't gone away?
Hasn't gone away.
Okay.
I love that band. I love that band. Something about them.
Well, obviously, yeah, when you first saw them, there was an instant attraction there then.
Yeah.
How do you feel listening to it now? Does it take you back to that time?
No, I'm really only listening to it for the musical part of it.
Okay.
I'm not listening to it because I want to be that, and I'm listening to it because I want to listen to the content of it.
You like the energy?
Yeah, like the energy of the songs and how they're put together and the tones that they're using and the way Glenn Danzig has this kind of a catch cry moan or groan about him. And it was just for me, it was clever.
There's obviously a connection there somewhere.
Yeah. He was right into werewolves too, so I love werewolves
Okay.
for some reason.
When was the first time that you actually got out and played original material live?
We did have some originals in that
In the Danzig
entity,
era?
yeah. But after rehab, and when I felt comfortable enough to go back into an area that they're selling alcohol, and me not drink, I started to attend an open mic night again, and I had a few original songs there, and that's where it started to go again. That's where it started to work. Contemporary music, some blues, some standard sort of middle of the road covers, and then some original music that was trying to fit in with the middle of the road covers and the blues.
Okay. Are we talking now late 90s, early 2000s?
Yes, early 2000s.
Did you manage to be able to get to record any of the original material at that point? Or did that come later?
No, I never got to record any of it back then. It came later. I think the first decent recording we did was a thing called Night Train, which was actually recorded at a show. And the guy, Glenn the Mexican Heffernan, who will actually be coming here in a minute, he had this 8-track. And it was just him and I had a guy Jay Conway on drums, and he was using brushes. Mm-hmm. And then he took that home and added bass, because it was 2 guitars and brushes. And the way he played bass was just top string on an acoustic, and he would thump his finger. So it sounded a bit like a double bass.
Oh, okay.
And it turned out really, really good. In fact, it's one of the albums that so many people say, I've got your first one, and when are you going to re-release it?
Okay, so you've done this 8-track recording.
Yeah.
On an 8-track cassette or 8-track reel-to-reel? Because I remember one of the first recordings that I ever did. I got into recording I was quite young with a band, and we went and recorded at a proper studio for the first time I'd ever recorded. And they took me down to the music farm at Byron Bay, and that was amazing. And then we went and recorded at a place in Springbrook. It was a 24-track tape thing. And I loved the recording process so much that I went and bought one of those 4-track cassettes.
Awesome.
And you could record on cassette tape with 4 tracks. But so the 8-track, do you remember whether it was probably reel-to-reel?
Probably. I can't remember what it was.
Did that motivate you to do more recording?
Yeah, it motivated me to write to try and write more songs, and Glenn, who captured it, said it ended up being the best live recording he'd ever done. He'd done a lot of that sort of stuff, you know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so he said it was just the room and the mics we had, and there wasn't a lot of mics, but it was enough. And you know, and the guy who mastered it and everything, he got it right there too. And he was just it wasn't a proper mastering. He was just a guy who had some software, and he knew what he was doing. Michael Lawson.
Okay.
Yeah, great violinist.
Are you still selling that album?
No, I'm not selling it. I haven't sold it for probably 15 years or so.
Are you still playing songs from that album?
I don't think so. I did my first solo show just a couple of days ago, first solo show in 20 years, and I did some songs off it there.
Okay.
And I actually did, the first song I did off it was Merry Go Round, and I'd forgotten a couple of lines. And then I did it again at the end of the show. I did that song again, and then by the end of the show, I had remembered the lines.
Oh, wow. You've actually gained quite a good reputation for the live show, and part of that reputation, I think, comes from getting the whole band into playing playing drums, but on different instruments, playing drums on kegs, playing drums. How did that come about? Because it's your signature thing.
It's kept us employed for a long time. I mean, I think we would have done it closely the same amount of work had we not had it. But having that piece in there, the keg drumming, having that piece in there really pepped us along. It really, but that came about by, I was doing a show at the Anglers Arms at Labrador, Southport, and there was all of like 7 people there, and no one was paying attention. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to have a reaction or get someone's attention. And it was just the drummer and I. Mm-hmm. It was just me on acoustic and the drummer on brushes. And we went into this Bo Diddley song, Who Do You Love, Bo Diddley Beat. And I said to Jay, just to play the Bo Diddley beat at the end of the song and just keep going. And he did. And I picked up a pair of drumsticks and just walked out into the room and started playing the furniture. Mm-hmm. Making noise.
Yeah.
You know, and hitting steel walkway bars and handle and railings and chairs and anything that was around. Mm. And everyone was like, what's going on over here? And then I got back to the drums, and him and I sort of goofed around together on the drums, trying to crescendo something and finish on the same time, which made it look like we'd actually rehearsed it. And I think, 7 of the 9 people clapped after the end of that, and I thought, well, might be onto something.
You've got something.
Then we worked out a thing where I would do that, go out under the audience, play the furniture, come back, and we had a patterned thing that we would do, syncopated drum crescendo that we would do. Then later on, years later, I had another drummer who was sponsored, he had a $10,000 drum kit, sponsored, and I said, this is what I do. He says, you're not playing my kit. I said, well, okay, I've got to do something. He was an amazing drummer, so I wasn't going to argue with him. He says, oh, no, I'll hit an empty beer keg. I'll get an empty beer keg and I'll hit that. And then the next thing happened was I had another guys who were younger, super energetic, really positive guys, lovely guys. Joel Perkis from Canada, he's a fantastic drummer. And Nathan, he was originally from Tassie. And these guys are super positive, super motivated. And I thought, I think it might have been Nathan that said, we should all get on it. And I said, let's do a line. So we got 2 kegs, and the Bo Diddley beat would play, and I'd lift that drum up and then walk him out while he's playing the drum. put it in the middle, and then we had a drum line, and we could do matched movements. We could do answer and call. Then we could do the carousel, where we'd walk all the way around the 3, and it would keep playing.
Yep.
And then we could put them in a triangle. We could do a crescendo and stop, boom chakalaka, put them in a triangle, and then do a beat and throw the sticks to each other while we're doing the beat. And so once that was happening, it had kind of reached a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is something that makes the show, the talk, it's something people talk about. It's something that people take away and they'll, that show where the guys play all the...
Yeah.
So it's something that's uniquely yours. How much of that part of your showmanship do you think you inherited from being around your dad?
Everything.
Because obviously he was very inventive when it came to that sort of stuff.
He was incredible. He gave me such great advice on music and how to, he said, one time he said, because I was doing the Danzig stuff, and my mum and dad came to see the show, and we were loud, and they started the first song, they're up front, and by the end of the start of the second song, they were up the back, because it was loud.
Yeah.
And I think all he said the next day was, you should probably do a couple of covers that everybody knows. And he says, you know the song K-Sam? You know, Jimmy Barnes? And at the age I was like, thanks, Dad, no way. Yeah. But he was the type of guy that would mention about not being too loud, but always being on time, being really courteous to the staff, never being too loud. It shouldn't be loud. It shouldn't be too loud that the audience can't be able to talk to each other.
Okay.
You know, that's what he said. That's what he said. I mean, it's different for like full-on rock outfits, but.
Well, yeah, because if you go back, that's an interesting thing. I do remember. I mean, things are very different now, but there was a time when pub rock was incredibly loud. Oh, there was the saying, if it's too loud, you're too old.
Yeah, right. That's a good shirt. That'd be a good T-shirt.
A good T-shirt. Yeah. If it's too loud, you're too old.
Yeah.
And what do you do to look after your health these days?
I just bought a push bike, an older push bike. So lately, I've just been trying to go for a bit of a ride on the push bike, and then the other one I do is if I can get to it, I'll go for surf, or go spearfishing. Or even go for a little bit of a run on the beach in soft sand. And that's about it. That's
hard, because that's hard work.
Yeah, but I don't push myself. I'm old enough now to just try and keep the...
Maintenance?
Try and keep the donuts away, yeah. Oh, man. And you got to look at a cookie now and I put on weight, you know?
Oh, well, yeah.
I live on my yacht now, and it's an old yacht. Before you think that it's like a la-di-da thing, it's not a la-di-da thing at all. I live on this old boat. It's big enough, I like it. And there's no full-length mirror on that boat. So I will have spent, nearly 2 years on that now, and I've seen myself in a full-length mirror probably 6 times. And that was a real shock.
Okay.
Because when you're on the boat, you're not doing laps very far of anywhere. So you're really not walking around a whole lot. And,
Bit sedentary.
As soon as I saw the full-length mirror and really got a good look what was going on, I immediately went on and bought a push bike. I have to do something.
Because you've always been quite a fit. I mean, surfing a lot, and you've always generally been quite a fit person.
Yeah.
You've got a couple of young daughters.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to them? Would you recommend they get into playing music as a career, or would be that something that you would steer them away from? What is your take on where things are at now, and what would your advice be to someone who is a teenager thinking about taking on music as a career?
I think it can be a good career. If either of the girls want to do music, I think it's a good thing. I don't think. I mean, I've had a lot of ups and downs, but I not necessarily think it's because of the music or the music industry. Sometimes it hasn't helped the music industry. It's a fickle area. You're kind of like dealing with used car salesmen a lot, you know, as far as public. Anyway.
But I think that can be in most any walk of life.
It can be.
The difference between now and back then is the type of role models and guidance that people had. Back when you were starting, and this is one of the things, because when I first started, there wasn't a lot of role models to give you an idea of what path you would take, where you would go, what did it look like to be 30-something or 40-something and playing music for a living? Do you remember having any role models along the way that you could look to and go, that guy's got an idea of where things are going, and is there something that you could point to and say that, well, that was a big influence on how you conducted yourself? Apart from, obviously your dad was a big influence.
Yeah, Dad was a massive influence. This is how it was. Dad never had any money. Very rarely. You know, I love him. He was amazing. He was a really, really great dad to me. Loving person. As far as dad goes, it wasn't, you know, but he was a great person, and I was just chuffed to be around him at any time I could. Like, I was just amazed to be around the guy any time I could. But the fridge was usually empty. Yeah. You know, and you know, we lived in a 2-bedroom flat the entire time I knew him, and you know, he taught people to surf during the day and around the beach hire, and at night time he'd play music. You know, and he'd rarely make a lot of money. He always sold himself short. He was great, but he always undersold himself. And it was because he came from the era of how much money, it was less back then.
Yeah.
And so by the time he'd gotten 40 years down the track, to charge $600 for a show or $800 for or whatever it was, he would just think, oh, that's too much. I'll just do it for $300. But there was probably, out of all of the guys that I saw doing it right in my eyes, you and your band was one of the guys that I just thought, God damn, if I could just get my shit together, maybe I could do some of that, what you were doing, because you were doing it, seemed like you were organised. It seemed like you had your shit together.
Wow.
And another couple of guys, and this is what really got me over the line at one stage, was Larry and Andy, 18-string duo they were, or something, and they ran one of the jam nights, but not only that, they were doing shows, and I had heard that they were making like $600 for a duo or $800 for a duo. And I heard that, I immediately went to them and questioned them, is that true? And as soon as I got the green light on, yeah, we're making some good money, I was like, this is possible.
Yeah. I guess that's one of the things that does make a difference, and it is that thing where over time you do have to push for more money as time goes by. It's like any other job that you apply for. One of the difficult things of the times we're living in right now is the cost of living has gone up significantly. And it's been a long time, it feels a long time to me, that musicians and bands have had since they've had a pay rise.
Yeah, that was incredible. Like, the cost of living started to get whispered about. And as soon as the whispers came out of, the cost of living is really going up, every shop and every product in every other shop just went, whoa, what are the prices up?
Yeah. Cost of fuel goes up.
Yeah, everything.
The cost of getting to a gig, the cost of buying a set of strings, the cost of...
The other thing about COVID was that it shut everyone down. So now you've got every muso and his dog, basically, unless they're doing a house concert on you know...
On the internet.
They've either done nothing or done whatever they can to make ends meet. Now the doors are open to gigs are coming back on, and everyone wants a gig now. Yeah. Everyone all at once. So what do? How do they get their gig? They halve their price. And so the people who won't halve their price are the last ones to get hired immediately. Sort of.
Well...
Unless you're doing a keg drumming.
Unless you're...
Or you think you're really professional.
Well, I think you've got to have... I think you do have to have something unique to offer. How much of a percentage of your show now would be original material and how much would be covers?
At a regular show that we do in a pub, and primarily all the pubs that we play have been cover show pubs.
Okay.
And we would do half-half.
Okay.
And that was really interesting too, because when I first started doing pubs, I understood that all the other bands playing here were cover bands. And I wasn't. I didn't class myself as a cover band. You know, we're probably doing 80-20 then, 80% originals and 20% covers. And I understood that because we're doing something different, like you said, that we got these gigs in all of these cover band pubs. We still do. What happened in the early days, when I first started to get shows as a duo, and then it grew to a trio, and then we pinched a bass player and off another band, and we had a band then, and we supported Renee Gayer at one stage. That was interesting and great. Looking back on it, I realised how completely obsessed I was with filling the calendar with gigs.
Okay.
And it didn't just last for 1 or 2 years. I was obsessed for like 17 years of just having my calendar full.
Do you think the obsession with having the calendar full was because you wanted to be performing, or was it about making enough money to live, or what was the motivation, do you think, behind filling the calendar?
Both of those.
Because you travelled overseas as well.
Yeah, we did.
Gig.
6 tours of Canada, 7 tours of Europe.
Did you set that up, or did you have somebody help set that up?
It was all a matter of circumstance. The first one was because I married a Canadian. My first wife was Canadian. And, you know, I knew that she would want to go and be able to visit her family from time to time, yearly. So I got in contact with a guy over there, and then we toured Canada. And we would go over there, she would visit the family, and myself and the boys would go on tour.
Was that financially viable? Did that work out quite well for you? Or?
Oh, sometimes.
It was one of those things, obviously the first time you do something, there's always a greater risk. Did it build over time?
Yeah, we got to know, we got known. We did some great festivals over there. It's a huge country, a lot of driving. At one tour I did 3 months touring over there. I think I went through 3 vans.
Wow.
Like I'd buy them and then kill them and then just buy another one. A lot of the deals were door deals. Sometimes you'd make some money, sometimes you wouldn't. A lot of the money made and kept was from merch.
Did you sell many CDs?
A lot of CDs and T-shirts. Europe's better for that.
Did you manage to get any airplay on radio?
Yeah, we did. We did radio, we did TV, morning TV.
That's
it was
great.
Really interesting because you'd just been up the night 3 nights before. and they want you down at the studio at 7:30, you know, for a 9:30 kickoff. Like, so you get there at 7:30 and then you don't do anything till 9:30 and we go,
Yeah. I did the midday show with Kakadu, with Phil Emmanuel.
Yeah.
And I don't think I think we basically left the gig and went straight to Channel 9.
always a good look.
Europe's different from Canada.
Massively.
How did the Europe thing come about?
I actually got an email from a guy in Germany, and he said, hopefully I remember his name, but he said, I'm so-and-so, I run the Shoppingen Grosch Blues Festival, and if you're over here in May touring, we'd love for you to come and do the festival. And I said, well, if you book us, we'll come. And he said, well, you're booked. I said, well, we're coming. And then my idea was, okay, now I can, because I've got this gig, off the back of that gig, I can book some other gigs. And nothing happened. Nothing happened.
Oh.
No, I didn't have another show. I had one show, and that one show covered one flight. And I thought, well, it's a foot in the door.
Yep.
So away we went, and I hired this little camper van, which had the sleeper up the top, which Nathan and Joel were in the sleeper, and I had the bed-sitter table, fold-down table bed there. We had all the gear in the camper van, and away we went. We did Shoppingen Blues Festival, and wiped the festival out with our show.
Oh wow! So it killed it.
It was insane. Both of these guys are super young, like we're young.
Yep.
And Nathan was just a full powerhouse, and Joel was just all over it. And I'm the grumpy old bricklayer who's trying to give it its best too. And we had the keg thing and the drumming and when we got off stage, there was a kid at the pizza shop the night before, Marius, and he said he was the only guy in the shop that spoke English. And he said, I've never been to a festival. You're doing the festival? Yeah. He says, oh. I said, how old are you? He says, I'm 17. I said, do you think your mum would let you come? He says, yeah. He says, I'll pick you up in the morning. He said, oh, great, thank you. Took him to the festival. He said, I can film it for you, because we had a camera there. So he would stand side to side. He said, most thing, I don't want to come on stage. I just film it side to side. I said, no problem. So, second song I've gone, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Marius. And he's walked out and he's shaking. And he's waved and they're all going, yeah. And then he loved that applause. And so he was sold then, he loved it. We finished the show, I walked off stage, and there was a guy at the bottom of the stairs coming off the stage saying, I want you to sign the contract. And I said, I don't know, I can't even read that, I can't sign that. We made a beeline for the merch tent, and I'd taken a suitcase full of CDs. I think I may have had some T-shirts as well, stubby coolers. I took in as much merchandise as I could. Hopefully I would sell them because I needed to make some money. And what happened in that tent, I'd never seen anything like it. It was like it being somewhere where people were starving and they were handing out food.
Oh wow!
And I had on the sign €20 because we sold them for $20 at home.
Yep.
But euro's much more than $20, which
it's almost double.
Yeah, I'm a bricklayer, so I didn't really give. And these things are going out the door. Like, people were putting cash on the table and just taking one and leaving. And other than that, we had a line of people to sign. And there was money being put on the table, and we were just kind of getting the money and just swiping it off into the suitcase, which was on the ground. Marius is in the tent filming it, and he's shaking like because it was
mayhem.
It was a bit mayhem. Myself, Joel, and Nath, we were just going, woo, yeah, we were just coming off the stage super high, and then we had a guy walk up to us and say, I have another festival next week, are you still around? I said, yeah, we're still here. he says, but we're not having you to play, just come to as guests. I said, we want to play. He said, no, we don't have, everyone is booked already. It's not to play, just as guests. I said, okay. And after he said okay, and I said okay, he said, maybe we can get you a spot on the VIP tent. And I went, oh, that'd be great, you know. Thank you so much. Shook his hand straight away and said, thank you, as if it was already happening.
Yep.
I'd learnt that. And we did that. That was amazing. But also at the Shopping Blues Festival, the guy who organised it, the owner, said, I want you to come and meet someone. And he took me over and he said, this is so-and-so. He's from Shooter Promotions. I said, oh, hello. He goes, hello, we really enjoyed your show. We handle people like Prince, Deep Purple, even Jimmy Barnes, Madonna, and so on, and Metallica, and I'm going. He said, we would like you to come and do a tour with one of our bands, and then return 3 months later and do your own headline tour. He says, how does that sound? I said, yes, please, that'd be great, you know. We got home, it had worked, and then I was contacting him, and he said, we're just working it out. I said, great. I said, can you put our name on your touring list act? I'd love to see it, Mason Rack, on your, because it's not far down after Metallica, you know, whatever it is, or you know. He says, yeah, we'll do that. It's still on there now. Shooter Promotions, Shooter DE.
Yep.
And then the communication went cold. And he finally come back. I said, oh, I got you. I just had a knee surgery. I've been in hospital. I said, oh, I hope that goes well. So a couple more emails, and then it went cold again. And then he come back, he said, my father's just passed away. And so, I mean, what do you say to that? But anyway, then it went cold and it never came back.
Oh.
And it was an opportunity that I'd missed. I should have done more there to establish a second contact in that establishment. Mm-hmm. I should have looked into that. I should have, there's been plenty of those kind of things along the way. Close, this close.
The business side of things, it really is, do you find for you that it's one of those things that it's been learn as you go?
For sure, yeah. Yeah, and I just heard a brilliant quote. It said, whatever I mismanage, I will lose. It was a super light bulb moment. Mm. It was like a high beam light bulb moment. And I realise now that I don't handle my business now with half as much enthusiasm that I used to. But it just made a lot of sense to me, you know, good management, self-management, whatever, but good organisation is paramount.
Would you say that discipline is a big part of that? How do you find discipline in your life? How does that manifest itself?
I don't drink or drug, so that was the main problem for quite a long time. Mm-hmm. So now that I don't do that, it's much easier to do just about anything else I want to try to do. But I can be very unorganised. I know it will work out as we're going over the speed bumps, but for me, I've been in the industry enough to know that we'll sort it out and it's okay.
One of the struggles that I've had, and I would imagine it's a similar thing, it's almost like there's a split in your personality or a completely different set of tasks or skills that required, and you have to be in a different mindset between being creative and being a musician. and between being a business manager and being organised. The two things are almost diametrically opposed.
Definitely.
Do you think that's part of the reason why you feel unorganised? Is because you want to be more in the mindset of being creative and being the musician?
Yeah, I think I'm unorganised because I can be lazy.
Mm-hmm.
I get unorganised because I feel like I've almost accomplished a lot of what I wanted to accomplish. I had a light bulb moment not so long ago where I analysed why did I ever get into what drew me to being a musician, what drew me to being an entertainer.
Mm-hmm.
And when I analysed internally, emotionally, what immediately came up for me was acceptance.
Okay.
First of all, the first thing that came up was I strive to hear the applause. I want to do things, whatever it is, to get them all to clap.
Mm.
I want them to recognise the effort. I want them to say, this is special. They are amazing. I'm happy that they're here. Yeah? And then what's really behind that is I want to feel accepted. I haven't quite gotten to the point of going, what's behind being accepted? And I could guess what that is, but for most of it,
I guess there's some sort of validation in being accepted.
Exactly.
It's like it's the validation of I'm a worthwhile person. I'm not a complete loser.
I was. Yeah. When I was drinking and drugging, towards the end of my drinking and drugging, I was a liar, a thief, and a cheat. Mm-hmm. You know. And so I guess now that it's been a long time since that's happened, although I've gone through a whole bunch of stuff, I think I feel now that I've received a lot of acceptance, mm-hmm. and that I'm okay with that.
You still do the 12-step program. I don't know what's involved in that. Do you feel that there is the possibility that there would be a chance that you'd ever slip back into that?
Well, that's always a possibility. Yeah, I'll always be an alcoholic. I'm just not an alcoholic today, from a choice.
Okay.
So a day at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also can be a daily reprieve based on a spiritual connection, supposedly.
Okay.
Yeah, whether I work that connection or not is another thing. Mm-hmm. But I never say to myself, oh, I'll never drink again. Okay. Because I know that if I want to double dare myself, that is me. I'll be drinking within a week. If I was to say that to myself, I would probably bust within a week.
You've worked with some great people, and you've got some great people around you now. And I've done a couple of recordings with you in here, and the songs are great. Do you find that the people that you have around you have a big influence on the way you do things?
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I did a lot of study on, just self-study on motivation and success principles and you know, the principles that all the wealthy put in place and money management and all this stuff. And I haven't used hardly any of them, but I learn about it. And, you know, I realised that if I hang around 5 bank robbers long enough, I'm going to be the 6th bank robber pretty soon.
Yeah.
So if I hang around 5 healthy, happy people, mm-hmm. I'm probably going to be quite a bit healthier and quite a bit happier soon. So a product of our environment at a percentage, you know. Mm-hmm. So and that's true, you know. Yeah, I hear a lot about that stuff.
You've got a single out at the moment called "Permission to Dance," which is a great song. It's a great song.
Thank you.
Is that going well for you?
No, not yet. You want to hear about this one?
Do you have some more up your sleeve? You've got is that going to be part of an album, or is it just going to be more singles? Or
I don't know. My musical plan is I will write and perform at least a couple of global hit songs, amassing me and the other guys I'm with millions of dollars, which is before I die.
okay,
That's and you know what that plan is? That's called what's it called? Superannuation. You know?
Yep.
Because I don't have
the retirement fund.
I do not have.
I don't have one
Right?
either.
But playing live hasn't got the gusto for me that it used to. That single we just did, the music was stumbled across in a sound check 6 years ago in Germany. I had held onto it after recording it on the Apple phone.
Yeah.
Then only 6 weeks ago, or whatever it was, I sat outside on my yacht and listened to the song over and over again, the piece of the song that I had over and over again, thinking, what words? I can't even think about any words to go here. Then all of a sudden, the words in my head come up. I give myself permission to dance. And so then I jotted down some words, and I thought, I don't even think that's going to fit to this, because I couldn't figure out where the words would go with this little piece of music sort of thing. And then we went into the rehearsal studio. It all fell into place within like a minute and a half. And we came here, and we had yourself and Vinny and Chris Gilbert on bass and Mick Sipple on drums, and it turned out amazing. I was so excited. This is what I do. I'm a Gemini, so I'm completely nuts. But I was so excited after recording the song and the song coming together, and I came back and we made a couple of adjustments.
Yep.
But in between all of that, I'm looking at Porsches, I'm looking at Ferraris, I'm looking at catamarans, like $1.9 million catamarans. And, you know, I mean, half of it was wishful looking, and the other half was maybe this song will really take off.
Do you believe in manifestation? Is that part?
Yeah,
is that,
I do.
Is that part of the manifestation process?
Oh, I hope so.
It is a great song. I'll put the links down below where people can go and check it out, and hopefully stream it 10 times a day.
Actually, you can put it on repeat, turn the volume down, just leave that computer over there. If I could just have 6,000 or 7,000 people do that every day for like a year, I could have it.
Having your two daughters, how did that change your life?
Having children made me feel a lot less indestructible.
Okay.
It made me feel vulnerable. I was vulnerable to the point where, not that you could hurt me, but you could hurt me through them. If something was to happen to them, I would feel it. So then it changed the playing table. I was already clean and sober, but it deepened the need to be a better person or a nicer person, or it felt that way.
Did it change the work ethic at all? Did it change the way that you performed? Did it change the amount that you wanted to perform?
No. In the middle of all of the years of going hammer and tong at it, going full on into doing it, I never really stopped and overcapped what was going on. I never really took a big outside stand back and go, look at all this. It wasn't until a lot longer after that I turned around and looked back and went, wow, I've been like a bull at a china shop, and I've been so obsessed with shameless self-promoting, you know, and I put posters up everywhere and gigging relentless, missing birthdays. I hadn't had a New Year's Eve with a partner for, over 20 years. I'd be away for everything. My birthday, their birthday, Christmases, anniversaries, I'd be gone. Every single weekend for a very, very long time, I was not around. So they were at school during the week, and on the weekend, I was usually gone, unless I had local shows.
I think that's a very similar story for a lot of people who do music for a living. I mean, it's certainly a very similar story for me. I missed a lot of family moments, birthdays, New Year's Eves, significant moments in other people's lives. If you had your time over again, what would you do? Would you do that side of things differently?
Yeah.
In what way would you do it differently?
Well, now I'm looking at it with what I know.
Yes.
So I believe you need to cut your teeth for a certain amount of time, playing music, playing gigs, understanding the temperature of the market and or the business side of things. But I would have looked at it much more professionally. I would have tried to employ stronger people behind what I was trying to do. I would have looked at doing door deals only. I would have looked at being more focused on recording and landing those radio-friendly songs. I would have focused on those sorts of things.
Do you think that you would have taken more risks? Because doing a door deal is a risk, and you would have preferred to do more of you would have preferred to do more door deals. What's the difference between accepting a fee and then going, no, we'll just take the door? What is the real difference in those two situations?
I think what I'm trying to accomplish there would be that that's what all the major acts are doing. They won't play a pub.
Yeah.
I play a pub and there be however many people there, and if they don't want to watch, they don't have to. But if they've paid $30 to come and see you, they're watching you.
Yeah, because they're invested.
Yeah, and they're going to shut up while you're playing a song.
That is true. All right, well, I look forward to hearing more original music from you. And I would like to say thank you very, very much, mate.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this today.
Before I go, I need to thank one guy.
Yeah.
And it's a guy named Paul Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Who ran the jam night at the Sands Hotel. I was there nearly every single jam night that he ever did, and he always used to give me a go. And he gave me a lot of good advice and a lot of big help. And most of the times he'd lend me $10 for get some beers at the time too. Thank you, Mr. Paul Jones.
Okay.
And thank you, Scotty.
Oh, man. It's been a pleasure to see the changes and the growth, and to hear your original music. I love it. And I look forward to hearing more. Thank you very much for watching today's podcast, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, Mason.